All right, welcome everyone. We are now live. My name is David Parenti. I'm the chair of the Local Emergency Planning Committee. This open meeting of the LEPC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to current COVID outbreak. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspended requirement for open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the LEPC are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. Public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Members of the public who wish to live stream the meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. We're going to do a roll call of all members present. I'm actually going to ask you to introduce yourself and who you represent. I will call out your name and then you can introduce yourself and who you represent. And we'll do that first to make sure you can all hear. So we'll start with Mike Parr.
Hi everyone, I'm Mike Parr. I'm the new hazmat assistant in town. Took over from Mike Borowitz back in July and have been trying to learn all the tricks to the trade here. So this is the first meeting I've been on, and it's good to see everyone.
Thank you, Michael. Mike Corelli.
Morning, everybody. Mike Corelli. I am the plant manager at Steris AST. We're on 435 Whitney Street. So good to see everybody. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Mike. Pam Masters.
Hi, I'm Pam Masters. I'm at Worcester Division of Public Health. Used to, you probably all used to see Alyssa Aretti on this call. She is still here, but she's Chief of Emergency Preparedness now. So I've moved into her old HMCC, the Health and Medical Care Coordinating Coalition role. And in a minute, you'll meet Shane, who is also on the team.
Thanks, Pam. Bob Federico.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Bob Federico. I'm the building inspector and the zoning enforcement officer for the town of Northborough.
Thanks, Bob. Shane.
Morning, my name is Shane Keppel Wagner. I'm with the Worcester Division of Public Health, representing Region 2 HMCC.
Good to see you again, Shane. I haven't seen you since all of our clinics. Good to see you, and congratulations on the position. And Haley's up actually volunteering at our clinic today, so it's crazy stuff.
I know Chris is busy over there.
Oh, it's crazy. Hang on one second.
I thought we were here at MT.
No, we send it out all remote. You can log in for your phone, or you can sit down. Hang on a second. I got to put my mask on because some people don't listen. Lieutenant Griffin.
Morning, everybody. Brian Griffin, Lieutenant with the Northborough Police Department.
Jason.
Morning, everybody. I'm Jason Little. I'm Finance Director for the town of Northborough.
Yeah, Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Filchak, NEMO West Coordinator.
And there's our Kevin's our contact whenever I need anything. I just call and say, send it to me, please. Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Jerome. I am also local coordinator, NEMO West. I am working with Kevin right now. I am a part-time as local coordinator at the time being. I just came back from a medical leave, so I'm happy to be back with everybody.
Welcome, Kristen. Mike Serapiglia.
Morning, everybody. Mike Serapiglia, Health Safety Environmental Manager for St. Cobain Research and Development Center on Goddard Road. I'm also a call firefighter in the town.
Yeah, so Mike kind of serves two purposes here, so lucky him. Hang on a second. I'm trying to do two things here at the same time, and I'm just not that good. Scott.
Good morning, everyone. Scott Osborne, Asset Protection Division Manager for Wegmans Food Markets.
Hang on a second. There we go. For some reason, my thing decided to start talking in my ear. Leslie.
Good morning, Leslie Rattan, Northborough Board of Selectmen. Happy New Year, everyone. Nice
Thanks,
to
Leslie. Grimes, I assume that's not your first name?
Hi, Chief, it's Don.
Oh, Don, sorry. Yeah,
That's okay, that's okay. I'm Don Grimes. I'm the Assistant Manager for New England Division with Wegmans Food Markets.
Yep. Welcome, welcome. John.
Hello, everybody. John Codere. I'm the Northborough Town Administrator. Thank you for all taking the time out of your days to be here for this meeting. We really appreciate it.
Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie Jacobson. I'm the Regulatory Analyst for Homeland Security's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency.
Thanks for being here, Katie. Is it Brianna? Is I pronounce that one right?
Yes. Excuse me, Brianna. I work for Wegmans, the local Northborough store.
Welcome, Brianna. And I don't think I called on Jason yet, did I? Brunetti?
Jason Brunetti, Iron Mountain Data Centers, 171 Barefoot Road.
Oh, lovely place. You got that building scares the heck out of me, just so you know. And behind the big one, not the little one.
I got the little one in the front.
Yeah, that's a data center. That one's not bad. Hang on, I'm trying to send. All right, go ahead, Scott. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Scott Charpentier, DPW Director.
I don't know if you heard Scott Charpentier, DPW Director, who didn't follow the rules. I'm sending him an email now so he can get out of here. Well, welcome everybody. Well, this is a good, nice turnout we have. I guess people don't hate Zoom because they're all here, but I am tired of it. Scott, I just sent you the link. It should be coming soon. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, guys, to get our PowerPoint up here.
Sorry, Chief.
No, don't worry about it at all, Scott. I'm just picking on you. Where am I? Here we go. All right, so this is our January 14th, 2022 meeting. It's been 6 months since we met, right? And a lot of interesting things have happened in those 6 months. I'm sure you would all agree. Our agenda for today is, we'll do introductions, which we just did. We'll cover any old business that we have. Any new business, incident response overview, which we do have a couple we'll talk about. As I told you guys, I think in the last one, we're going to start talking about every meeting a little bit of the hazardous material emergency management plan and what's going on with that. I want to have Mike talk about the tier 2 reporting, a little bit about 21 East site assessments and any other business we may have come up. Here's all of our links, my information, Mike's information, and if you need to join a meeting. So I already introduced myself. Mike introduced himself. We did a roll call in attendance. Old business, the first old business thing we have to do is to review and approve the meeting minutes from June 24, 2001 that were all sent out. Hopefully you'll have a chance to review it. They'll have a motion from anyone.
Chief?
Yep, Leslie.
I move that we approve the Northborough Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting minutes of June 24th, 2021.
Thank you. Motion by Leslie. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by John and Mike. All those in favor, just raise your hand. Perfect. There we go. Opposed? Passed. That's easy to do. Too far. So stuff we want to talk about is tier 2 training coming up. So there's a sign up available. Mike, you sent this out to everybody, correct?
I'm not sure if I forwarded the actual link for this webinar, but they have this PowerPoint in their emails, so it's on there. But pretty much February 8th, Massachusetts Facilities is a webinar on the Tier 2 reporting. Also on the website for EPCRA, there's their YouTube series that explains all of it. So if anyone's new to the process like me or their facility, you can review this to kind of understand what's due on March 1st.
Any questions about that? It's kind of a, if you guys haven't been in the software in a while, it's probably not a bad idea to hop in there, take the training. It's really how we need everything submitted to us through the software. It just makes things easier for us. Mike, you want to talk about this at all?
Nothing's really changed with the reporting this year. It's still due March 1st. It's still electronic physical copies, the data sheets, site plans, inventories, and doing the process. We also get the updated contact information for the emergency coordinators. So this is all pretty run of the mill from what I understand about the tier 2 reporting, and we've always had good compliance here in Northborough from what I've seen.
Yeah, very good compliance. One thing I'm going to remind you all, I'm still getting emails to Mike Borowick for stuff. Make sure that you go into your system and change it from Mike Borowick to Michael Parr. MPAR Act, town.northborough, PARR. Really important, because if it comes to me, I'm still getting it, but eventually I'll be turning off Mike's email. And I just realized that Scott left, so I don't need to sit here with this on anymore. So please make sure that that you put Mike's email in there for all your submissions. That would be terrific. We always like to talk about some of our incident responses. We had a spill of home heating oil into the basement of 229 West Main Street. Now, what was kind of unique about this is we didn't get the call from the homeowner. We got the call from the company that came in to take care of it. And when we did get there, the entire basement had already been cleaned up. So for us to tell how much it spilled, where it went, there's drains in the basement. It was just incredibly complicated to tell if this was in the groundwater, because there was nothing there. I mean, there was no sand outside. There was no oil outside. There was nothing. So it was a little bit difficult for us to follow up on that one. So this ended up becoming quite an interesting case, in that the officer in charge of that day very wisely did what he was supposed to do. And we reached out to DEP. When DEP got involved, it turns out it was a full tank that spilled in that basement, full tank of oil. So, and where did it go? Did it go on the ground? Did it go outside? Well, the homeowner did some cleanup, but he didn't reach out to us until, well, again, he never reached out to us. It was actually the oil company that reached out to us and advised us. So DEP got very involved. John, I know you got a report on this indicating about the leak. It's just a reminder that not everything we deal with deals with commercial properties, which a lot of people think, well, the hazmat we're worried about is dealing with commercial. No, this is the stuff that I'm scared about, and we don't know about this kind of stuff. So it's definitely was an interesting case. Mike, Michael Parr, do you have any other information on this, or that pretty much covered that one, right?
That pretty much covered it. It's just an example which will go into the 21E site assessments that we'll touch on later. All this information is available online, and it's one of the resources we use to do those assessments when we discover these things.
Yes, Bob. You're muted, buddy.
Okay, sorry about that. As the building official, I wasn't notified about this until we got an application from the contractor to remove sections of the floor and pin the foundation walls in order to remove the contaminated soils.
That's a problem.
Yeah, because I don't get notified of a spill either. And typically in situations like this, if a spill is involved, it involves some sort of a permittable work to be done through the building department, in terms of picking up the slab or, taking out part of the foundation and replacing it. Obviously, all that stuff needs to be engineered. But if there's a mechanism with which, when you folks get notified, if I could get notified, or my department, we can flag the property, that would be a huge, huge help.
Easy fix. I apologize for the oversight, Bob. I'm just so used to you finding out everything, because we normally tell you everything. So I'm
yeah, it's kind of weird, but
I'll yell at Dan. Okay, that's Captain Brillhart's fault. He's not here, so I can yell at him. I'll blame him.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We'll make sure we follow up in the future. I do apologize. Yes, Leslie.
Just a quick question. Do we know why that happened? Did the tank corrode it out?
There was a failure. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and no one bothered telling us. So again, that's the frustrating part. If the oil company hadn't called us, we wouldn't have known. And someone would have bought that house with all that underground underneath them. So it was interesting. some other incidents. We had 21 responses for involving gasoline and natural gas. We had a gas tank failure that leaked into the storm drain. We had an incident at Shops Way. For some reason, since Shops Way's been there, we have had more issues with their gas services up there. I don't know why it's been such an issue, but it seems like we're constantly up there dealing with different gas leaks, and it takes them forever to fix it. We have 4 appliances that had issues. One ruptured gas line because someone stuck a post through it. We had an interesting issue with an abandoned 250-gallon LPG tank that wasn't found. We did a bunch of calls for, and this was out towards the Barefoot Road area. So we were getting all kinds of calls for an odor of LPG. We can never find it. And eventually, one of the officers, we actually found an abandoned tank out in the woods that was slowly weeping off, and that's what was causing the issue. So that was an interesting one. Mike, we still have my pictures of the abandoned tank in here, right? You didn't take that out of this presentation.
Yes, that's at the end.
Okay, we'll cover that. So the abandoned tank we found is on West Main Street, directly across from Dunkin' Donuts on the land that will hopefully be the new fire station. And it was kind of an interesting situation over there. So we'll go through all that. A couple other minor calls here and there. The one that I don't see listed on here that I did want to mention, and that's my fault because I didn't point it out to Michael, is we had a leaky gas tank failure that, and I think that's actually the one where DEP was notified of the possible runoff. That the person actually found the car was leaking in the driveway or in the parking lot, and then they put the car into the garage that is underneath an apartment building, leaking, and then called us. We therefore moved the car out from underneath the garage because that's not really a safe place for it. But we lost. Is that one, Michael? Am I correct?
Yeah, that was the gasoline tank failure.
Yeah. The tank failed, and that was up on Main Street, one of the apartment complexes, and that was an interesting one. Let's talk a little bit about the plans and the changes that we want to talk about at the plan. So one of the things, the hazardous material emergency management plan really should be a living document. And what we tend to do in the LEPC realm and in the fire service, and I guess in general, is we create these plans, we put them on a shelf for 5 years, and then we look at them again in 5 years and we rewrite them. Doesn't do a whole lot of good. It really should be a live document that we look at every now and then and say, hey, yes, I agree with this. No, I don't agree with this. So we're going to break up little sections and look at it on a regular basis. And this one we're going to look at today has to have to do with response level criteria. Okay, so we have response level criteria of a level 1, which is a controlled emergency condition, level 2, which is a limited emergency, and level 3, which is a full emergency condition. Now, a level 1 would be I'm sorry, I went the wrong way with my arrow. Okay, a level 1 is an incident controlled by primary first response agencies such as us. Now, the reason we're going over this, guys, is I want to know if you're in agreement with what we have in here for our level 1, our level 2, and our level 3. If you're okay with the way it's written, we'll check it off and we'll go to the next section, right? So a single jurisdiction with limited agency involvement, this would be a typical gas tank spill or something like that. Very confined geographic area, no immediate threat to life, health, or property. Incident command initiated, IC establishes liaison with if needed, with a facilities emergency coordinator. So we go to St. Cobain, we go to Wegmans. Wegmans has a little spill or something. We talk to the emergency person there, say, hey, there's a small spill, so we're going to clean it up. We determine if it's big enough to have to notify DEP, or if we have to go to a higher response level. There's really no need for public warning in this type of level 1 controlled emergency. Level 2 is when we start getting into a bigger one, which is potential threat to life, health, or property. Has a little bit more of expanded geographic scope, limited evacuation if needed of nearby residents or facilities. Could involve more than one or two jurisdictions. Limited participation, normally mutual aid for coverage. This isn't a state level call, probably. Could be, we may need to bring a specialist or technical team, but we may not. It's normally we have fire, police, EMS if it's involved. So we have had a couple of these. We had one years and years ago out at Steris. We've had them. We had an oil. We had a truck that was running around town that was leaking diesel fuel all over town. A large geographic area, not necessarily potential threat to life or property or health, maybe some property. So each of these had to be looked at, but this would be a level 2. It does, of course, involve ICS implementation, but it also normally brings in a safety officer, maybe other specialties. Unified command is what we would say it would be me. It would be someone from the fire department, someone from the police department, someone from building, someone from, most likely in this case, MEMA would be here, depending on how bad it was. Maybe the state hazmat team. This would be a unified command, and whether or not we had to open up our local emergency operations center and all that. And we'd have to again evaluate whether or not this would have to go to a higher response. May require limited warning. So this is where Code Red would come involved, which we have Code Red, which is our notification system. That would be something I would talk to the town administrator about. The police chief would say, hey, let's implement Code Red and notify the people in this geographic area we have this issue. That's why it's really critical. And we try to make sure we notify people all the time. They need to sign up for Code Red notifications. Really important to get that. EMS would obviously be part of this. But again, in this case, we are EMS, so not a big deal. Level 3 is a serious hazard or severe life-threatening health and property. Very large geographic area, multi-jurisdictional, state and federal involvement, specialists, technical teams, emergency response. Thank goodness, I'm going to tell you, I've been in the fire service for way too darn long, over 40 some years, and I have not had to deal with a level 3 full emergency condition. I have drilled on them. I have not had to do it. This would probably necessitate the Board of Selectmen or the town administrator through the Board of Selectmen to declare a state of emergency. And the reason we do that is because it makes things easier to do things. It makes it easier to spend money. It makes it easier to order people to clean up. It makes it easier for evacuation. We can order mandatory evacuations once we declare that state of emergency. Most of you should be familiar with the state of emergency because we just spent over a year in one with COVID. So it does help a lot, and it gives the incident commander, emergency operations center a little bit more leeway in what they can do. Response level for this, it would be, obviously the public would know about it. State resources involving federal resource, state police would be brought in. Without question, EMS is part of the incident command. And it's very possible this could result in a mass casualty incident. Level 3 emergencies are hazmat emergencies. I'm going to be honest with you, are one of the things. There's two things that scare the heck out of me that I don't like dealing with as a fire chief. One are big brush fires because they're really uncontrollable and they go all over the darn place. And I've had to deal with a 90-acre brush fire. I never want to do that again. And the other one is a level 3. I'll deal with building fires all day long, but this level 3 hazmat is really kind of scary. Hazardous material emergencies range from small fuel spills like we talked, all the way up to major spills. And again, the 3 levels are level 1, which is a control, level 2, which is kind of a limited emergency, and a level 3. My question would be to all of you, are you comfortable with those levels as they're laid out? Do you have anyone have any concerns, questions? We do train and plan for all of these. Michael and I have discussed, we're going to be doing a tabletop coming up, probably of a level 2 emergency. I'm not going to do a level 3 emergency. Level 3 emergencies are the ones you see that the state coordinates through MEMA. Kevin, if you have anything to mention about that, like several years ago, city of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, we did a huge, I don't know if you were around, Kevin, when we did that, but a big federal level 3 drill. Were you around for that one?
No, those a little before my time.
Okay.
But that said, right now we are kind of COVID focused, but as those come up, we certainly will let communities know so that if there's opportunities to participate or even observe, then you can do so.
Great, thanks, Kevin. The one that we do get called into is the the nuclear power plant, the Seabrook plant. Our tech team does get notified of that every year. We are able to participate in that every year if we wish. And that is actually, we actually get funds for that if we participate, we get money back for that. So, and I do have no tech team. I have some tech team members, but no hazmat team members on my department right now. So we're not normally participating in that. So that's the section of the hazardous material emergency plan we wanted to go over. Again, anybody have any questions, concerns about the different levels that we talked about? Excellent. Seeing or hearing none, I will go on. So we have been very busy since July 1, and so has Michael. Since Michael had a great learning curve when he came on board, he's issued so far 157 hazardous material permits since July 1. Now, granted, he came in during our research process, so he's gonna get hit with a lot of those. And you can see how they're all broken out here. We have so some of these above ground storage tank installation removals, removal install, all of those ones are regular ones we have on a monthly basis. LP commercial, LP residential installs, but the permits to process, the hazardous material storage, the flammable storage, those are the ones that Michael gets involved in. And the process, the permit to process, as they come in, he reviews those. Normally, then gives me insight as to there's no concern, or there is concern, and we need to review this. So when you guys fill out all those permits, that's the process. They come in, they get reviewed by Michael. If they're able to be handled by the shift handles them. If they go to a higher level, Michael handles them. So 157 isn't terrible, but it just lets you know how much is going on out there with hazardous material permits just here in the little town of Northborough. Mike, I'd like you to speak to the 21E site assessments. We have had 3 requests in town. Sometimes, interestingly enough, and before Mike speaks, we'll get a freedom of information request looking for basically all the information you would get on a 21E. Which, so you guys know, that's a way to work around the fee for the 21E. There's a $200 fee for a 21E site assessment. People will call up and say, oh, all I want is the freedom of information. And then they lay out all the information, and I have to explain to them, that's a 21E request. You can put the application in for that. And I work with our freedom of information coordinator, Andy Dowd, our clerk, to make sure he's aware that that request was put in and where I'm redirecting them. But we do get several of those a year. And sometimes they follow up with a full true 21E. Sometimes they just go away. So Mike, can you speak to these?
Sure. There were 3, 77 Main Street, 325 West Main Street, and 13 Church Street. So the top 2, 77 and 325, were assuming people looking at developing those properties. 13 Church Street is the old fire station. The town wanted to prep the site for proposal requests and whatnot. So we did one up for that. But like the chief said, I don't think people realize how extensive we do them, and the detail that we get with them. They think they just can get a yes or no on whether or not there was something listed at the address. And we go into a little more detail with our reports.
Yeah, we try to, so when someone calls up for a 21E site assessment, they want to know if the site's been cleaned or not. And, or if there was a spill there 6 years ago. And interestingly enough, sometimes we don't know, as we'll talk about it on the next slide. But for the most part, Mike does a great job. He digs into our files. He can dig into DEP files. He does, he'll speak with Bob or other department heads and say, hey, you guys know of anything that happened here? So we know when we give that person to ask for the 21E, their report, we're giving them everything that we have on it. So a great example is we got that we were talking about earlier about that spill on West Main Street. That will go into our electronic file on that property. So 4 years down the road, when somebody does a 21E on the property next to it, we will have that available to say, actually, there was a spill on this site. This is what it was cleaned up. So it's not just a matter of someone calling in and us calling them back and saying, yeah, it's fine as far as we know. We actually do dig into it a little deeper. So 321Es, that's not unusual. Again, we do them for the town. We did one for the town for 6165 West Main Street too, which is the next slide. So that's the site for the new fire station. We already we're pretty sure, and I'm going to give John a big throw out here because I'm the fire chief, so I want a damn fire station. Let's get moving. And John is the town administrator and says, yeah, I agree, chief, but we need to do our due diligence and make sure it's clean. And I said, well, John, come on, DEP says it's fine. And John says, no, we need to do our due diligence and we need to do a really good purchase and sales to make sure we're okay. Well, guess what they found? All kinds of stuff in the soil. And what they found was DEP tested for gasoline. Gasoline got cleaned up. DEP didn't test for diesel fuel. Guess what they found in the soil and underneath the building and in the corner? They found diesel fuel. So during the, and I'm going to let John speak to this in just a second, but during the cleanup process, they found an abandoned underground storage tank that nobody knew was there. So John, you want to speak before I move on to the next slide, which talks about the tank? Would you like to speak to the importance of the purchase and sales and how it was formatted and why we are where we are?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, we're all anxious to get going on our building project for a new fire station. But the town purchased essentially a remediated former gas station, but there were still structures on that site. And we hired our own LSP, and it's a lesson in this for anybody if you're looking to purchase property and you're concerned that there was contamination and it had been previously remediated. I learned a couple things on this project. One, that an LSP does the remediation and completes all the reporting, but unless it's audited, by DEP, and it's not always audited by them, it's assumed under the person's license to have been remediated. Long story short, we hired our own LSP to really dig into the property, and he was concerned that there were a couple areas that could be problematic, particularly the ones under the building. So we had a very good purchase and sale structured that required the owner to remove all of the buildings, structures, and to remediate any contamination that was encountered. And so it's just like layers of an onion being peeled back. The main contamination and tanks were removed on the initial remediation. Now we found a couple $100,000 worth of work and remediation that needs to be done, checking the groundwater. And then I believe the chief has a couple of slides here of there was even a surprise on top of the surprise out there. Luckily, what was found was another abandoned tank that there was no record of, that nobody was aware of. And thankfully, it looks like other than leaving the tank itself in the ground, it was cleaned up properly and it had not leaked, which was great news. But just goes to show, if that abandoned tank had not been cleaned up and no one knew about it, it could have been a very significant environmental mess down there, a very expensive thing to clean up. So I know, Chief, if you want to kind of show a couple of pictures of what was encountered during the remediation, the second round of remediation work that's out there.
Yeah, so before I flip over, so I get a phone call, I get notified, hey, we found an abandoned tank on the site. Okay, not a big deal, pull a permit, and when you pull it, call us, we'll come over, we'll look at it like we always do, look at the hole, make sure it's clean. And normally when we do this, I find a tank that's over there, that's, it looks like a regular tank, and we're all set. And I say, yeah, we look underground and it's not an issue. Well, what I found was this. And as you can see, this doesn't look like a intact tank in any way, shape, or form. So I get there and I look and I went, oh my God, what's going on here? So the company that was on scene remediating said, so what this isn't how they found it. It's similar to how they found it, but not how they found it. Somebody had actually cut the tank open, flayed it open, filled it, cleaned it, filled it with sand, pushed the sides back over, and then pushed the ends over, and then covered it back over. Now, tanks abandoned on site do happen. And the normal process would be you would fill it with sand to keep it from collapsing in. But this was one that nobody knew about. I think we figured it was about a 5,000 gallon tank is what we ended up determining it was. And so I get over there and I start taking pictures going, what do we have here? And luckily enough, there was no sheen. By the time I got there, they had already dug out all the sand that was in that was in the tank. And all we had in there was a little water, and there was no oil sheen, nothing like that. So I was comfortable. They were going to test underneath where the tank was, but I wanted to stay there while they were pulling the tank out. So I did. And hang on. It's going to do it for me. This is what I see, the tank coming up out. So, oops, okay. So they pulled the tank all the way out, and we're able to look underneath it. And the bottom of the tank, you can see the top of the tank is slightly, you can see it's a little rusty, a little decayed, but they pulled this tank up out, and the bottom of the tank looked remarkably in great shape. You know, that's really good shape for a tank. You can see the holes. Oh no, why are there holes? Those are the holes where the piping for the tank were. So that's not damaged. That's not rust. That's from the piping of the tank. So I was like, well, okay, not a big deal. What are we going to do with this tank? And this is what I see. I'm like, what are you doing? They were just shaking the sand out so they could get everything in the hole that could possibly be a problem. I don't mind telling you that one caught me a little off guard. They did test the hole, and the stuff that was in there was fine. There was no more extra contamination. John.
I was just going to say, so the moral of the story here really is, people ask, why do we have to go through all these review processes? Why do we have to file permits? Why do you keep all these records? Had that tank been abandoned in place irresponsibly, that would have been a massive environmental cleanup that clearly would have gotten down into the groundwater and caused some significant issues for abutting properties. So, that's why we go through these processes. This is why you need to pull permits. And also, as landowners, when you come in behind and you purchase something, you want some reasonable assuredness that you're not inheriting a contaminated site. And so that does happen. People, purchase a home or a property only to find out that there was a tank that nobody, in this case here, this had gone under multiple remediations, and nobody knew that this abandoned tank was there, not the previous owner or the owner before. So, but that's why we, moving forward, we keep the records, and it's for everybody's safety and to prevent, make sure that if people are going to remove or decommission tanks, that they're done properly, that they're cleaned out properly, and it doesn't pose a hazard for anyone coming behind them or the public in general. So I know it seems like people are always frustrated, regulations, compliance, permitting, why do we have to jump through all these hoops? Well, it's not just for you, but it's for anybody who comes behind you. It's the same reason why we have building inspectors that have to review and sign off on any work that's done in your home, so that if you buy a house, if things were done legally and properly, you have some reasonable assurance that it was done safely. And so I know, folks, nobody likes regulation, but again, this tank, had it not been cleaned out and done properly and just abandoned, you'd have a massive cleanup. I'll just, not to get too far off topic here, but the town acquired the White Cliffs property on Main Street, the old mansion, and we did our due diligence up there, and lo and behold, there was a underground tank from 1970 that nobody knew was there, and our LSP kept picking and sampling, and that was $500,000 of remediation. That was a large oil tank that actually was abandoned in place, and it was full, and nobody knew it was there. So it's why we keep the records. It's for your safety and anybody coming behind. And again, these things get into the groundwater, you've got a very big cleanup on your hands. So luckily this one worked out.
Leslie.
Yeah, also too, I think it's advantageous to have found that tank well before structure was on top of the property, rather than finding this afterwards and then, having this gap or this kind of gaping hole below that would have had to be filled in underneath the structure. So all the more reason to have gotten that out of there.
Yeah, it's I'm going to say DEP's gotten much better and tracking these underground tanks through the permits and everything. So Michael or I will get an email, hey, there's an expired underground tank that needs to be removed, or whatever it happens to be. Then we're notified. Or there's a tank that we're approving to be abandoned in place, and this is what we're telling them to do. So we're much better at tracking them now. But interesting enough, I had talked to DEP before we even moved on this property and asked them what they thought. Oh yeah, it's great place for a fire station because it's gonna be on slab, and they had no idea it was there. So I just find it quite interesting. So
Well,
it's
not our first rodeo. You know, when we purchased the old Fish and Game property up at 119 Colburn Street and had to manage that remediation from the prior owner, the White Cliffs. You know, again, it just shows doing your due diligence and making sure that you know what you're getting into. Especially a former gas station or an industrial site that had former hazardous material storage on it. You know, you just want to make sure that again you're doing your due diligence.
Okay. Thank you, John. That was it for our agenda for good of the cause. I just wanted to mention that a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think Mike, maybe even longer, Mike Borowick and I reformatted our permitting process for hazardous materials to lessen the impact on our commercial partners, to lessen the cost on our commercial partners, because paying for each and everything when you have 5,000 chemicals doesn't make sense. We grouped them. We made it much easier for the submission, and I just wanted to report back on that. That's worked out very, very well for us, and that we're still getting all the information we need. The permitting process isn't for us to make money, and I try to explain this to people. It's not for us to make money. It's for us to track what's going on. So we still run the permitting process, and all the in fact, everyone who's online here that I can see, they are very great, sending us full spreadsheets. This is what we have. This is where, this is the chemicals we have. And we're able to incorporate that into our new software. So the guys in the field, when the men and women are in the field, they can actually bring right up that document and see what we have in the field, what we have in there. So I just wanted to mention that was actually Mike Borowick's doing, and Mike Parr is taking over and doing an outstanding job with it. So that's going very good. The other thing I did want to point out, just because I can, is that Mike Borowick, as you know, was our grant guru. Mike wrote all our grants and did an outstanding job. Well, Mr. Parr over here is already stepping up to the plate, and he's already gotten us two. And the last one we just found out about the other day was $19,000 for more turnout gear. So we're very excited, turnout gear and some other stuff. So while Mr. Parr had a big thing dropped on him, he's doing an outstanding job with it. We're very excited for that. So that is the items we had on our agenda. I would like to give everyone a chance to speak up. And Kevin, I know we're going to jump right off of here and onto yours, because I know we have another one scheduled for another Zoom meeting. But does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, anything they'd like to bring up? Any questions about the departments dealing with COVID, all that? Yes, Leslie.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for all the grant stuff. That's fantastic for our town. Also, was there any identifying information on that abandoned tank that you found? Because that is one of the most irresponsible things I can think of. Take that tank and just dump it in the woods. There was no way to track.
Oh, you're talking about the LP tank in the woods.
Yes.
Michael, I don't remember. I kind of tangentially, I wasn't really into that. Do you remember if there was anything?
I don't think they were ever able to track the owner, but the company that was responsible for it was on the tank, so they came out and cleaned it up.
Okay.
So the company that did the original install, wherever it was, figured it out. I don't know if they figured out where the initial property was.
Right. So I don't know who it was. It could have been AmeriGas. It could have been I could look back in the report and find out. But we advised them when we found the tank. They came out and picked it up and took care of it, but we don't know where it originally came from, Leslie.
Was there any other kind of cleanup involved around it?
No need.
Okay.
It was just off gassing slowly, and it was driving us nuts because we could not find out where it was coming from.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the reporting on these things.
Anybody else have anything that they would like, have any comments, questions, concerns? Okay. Mike, what we try to do is if there's any new training, we did send the one thing out for the tier 2. I would ask you to concentrate on that, really important. There are constantly ICS 300 and 400 courses that are coming across my desk. Most of, I know, in fact, all of the town employees of all the people who needed to have the 300 and 400 training. But if anyone from our commercial partners out there are interested or looking for training, please reach out. I'd be happy to see if Michael, I can do some searching and find some stuff for you. If you're looking for any extinguisher training, we work with that with people. Obviously with COVID, we're doing things a little differently now. I can tell you that we have been crazy busy with COVID and with PPE and responses, and it has just been insane. And I can tell you the department went almost 2 full years with no positives. And we had our first positive with one of our employees last week. Really pissed me off because I was hoping we get through the whole thing and be able to say, yay. But no such luck with Omicron out there. But he's now tested negative and he's back to work. So if there's no more other comments, the next meeting will be in approximately 6 months. Hopefully, maybe we'll be doing the tabletop at that meeting because we do need to do them. And if not, thank you all very much for joining us today. I appreciate it. And I'll see you all in about, well, hopefully I'll see you before then, but I'll definitely see you all in about 6 months. Oh, Mike, you got something? Or are you just waving by?
Yeah, that was just a clap. Good job, Chief. Mike, good job. No, really good.
And
Good
Michael,
information sharing.
Michael, I didn't forget about your positive. I just didn't talk about it.
Thanks. Yeah, made it through.
Okay, buddy. I'll talk to you guys all later. Kevin will join you in just a minute.
All right.